We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Happy to have you all this evening. We have some guests, which is always wonderful. So we'll continue to work through the agenda and keep moving. So next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I have no changes. Does anybody have any changes for the agenda?
I have none.
No.
Okay, then I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Anderson, second by Munda. Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Waltz?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
May have 6 yes, motion carries.
Great. Okay, the next item on the agenda is recognitions, and we actually have a few.
We do have a few recognitions. We're going to start back in December. We had on the agenda to recognize our students as a whole for their giving and generosity. But it's really facilitated through our student council, who does a lot of work in coordinating our staff members as well as all of our students to have them bring out their generosity. So on behalf of the student council, Marissa Marcel and Dana Laney are here on their two respective buildings. I'm going to ask them to come up and give us a little review of all the generosity that happened in December, if you would please.
Hi, I'm Marissa Marcel, and I am at the Alma campus. You guys weren't able to see it, you probably saw the pictures, but this room was kind of like Santa's workshop for quite some time. In place of your chairs was just gifts all around, and it wrapped around the entire, oh, you can see here. It wrapped around the whole room. Here we collected about 700 gifts, about the same old Red Oak Plain, so for a total of around 1,400 presents. It was around, students were supposed to and staff were supposed to spend around $20 on the gifts. So when you put all that together, it's about $35,000 worth of donations, which is just unbelievable. The Daily Herald did come out to do a story on it and interviewed some of the students, took some pictures, put up a nice article in the paper to recognize our efforts. Dana and I actually went up to Riley Elementary School the Friday of finals, right when we were going on to break. And it was really awesome. They bring the principal's son dresses up as Santa. All the teachers decorated the gym like Santa's like North Pole. And the kids are brought down to the gym by classes, and Santa calls them up individually, each by name. And so they feel so special because Santa's actually calling them. And so if he mispronounces it, he tells them he has a North Pole accent. But he handed the gifts to each of the kids, and then they had to sit there and hold the gift until the whole class got it, and they brought it to their classroom, and so many of them started like poking little holes in it, and they were like, oops, you know, and then checking to see if they could see what was in there. So it was really, really rewarding to be able to see it through the final step. So many of the kids were like, he got me exactly what I asked for. And they were just so incredibly excited. The principal, the administrators, the teachers could not thank us enough for what we had done. So it's an awesome project that's been going on here, a tradition for probably about, I would say, 15 to 20 years. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of organization, but in the end, it brightened the holidays for a lot of different children. So that was a really cool thing for us to be able to do.
And for those of you that know Marissa and Danny, you'll understand this. When we first asked them about coming tonight to be recognized for the work, absolutely their first thought was, this isn't about us, it's about all the kids at Warren that contribute and do the work. And I appreciate your guys' pure hearts, because obviously what happens with that is it rubs off on our students. There's really three critical pieces that we try to bring to students each and every day. And we're going to see at least two of them tonight. One of them is obviously to provide for good students, right, academically in the classroom. The other one is to let students shine. And so later in a few minutes here, we're going to see some students who absolutely have shined in the school. But the first and foremost goal that we have is to create good people and hopefully have them develop characteristics that throughout their life they'll appreciate and will make their life richer. And so thanks to our student council for their leadership in allowing all of our students to become better people. Our next group of individuals for recognition, or we have one individual that we're going to bring up special. I think Mr. Meyer is going to come up with a special introduction.
Yes, I want to introduce to you Bradley Walensky. He is being recognized tonight for his receiving the 10th Congressional District Young Leader Award, which was presented by Bob Dole. He had a little excerpt of himself, and this picture was taken later after he received the award out on the internet, and then people would go in and view and vote. So he was actually elected to this award in a sense. The Young Leader Award is given to a young person who has demonstrated leadership and is an outstanding example to their peers. And Bradley is just that, a young man of great character. Never a day goes by you don't see this young man in the hallway with a smile. He always has time to stop and talk to you, shake your hand, let you know what's going on. He likes to invite you to his vocal music concerts and let you know what's going on in his life. He's a very, very great young man. Their leadership experience can come through a variety of different experiences, included but not limited to athletics, arts, science, clubs, volunteering, and academics. Specifically, Brad is a young ambassador for the Tourette Association. He was named the Illinois Tourette Syndrome Ambassador for Illinois in 2013 and was trained to go to school to speak and help others with Tourette syndrome. And just earlier today, he was at the Optimist Club giving a presentation. And it doesn't stop there. Bradley has spoken to congressional luncheons in Washington, D.C. He's won the Red Cross Youth Hero Award and won the Governor's Award for volunteerism and service. A very, very accomplished young man, and we're very proud to have him as a student at the Oak Plain campus.
Congratulations, Brad. And we have a few other young people that we're excited to introduce, and we're going to start our introductions. Mr. Cole, if you would come up and start talking about our fall athletes.
Good evening. It's with great pleasure tonight that we're going to introduce three outstanding athletes who excelled this past fall, kind of kick off our athletic year, and the recognition they got and the accomplishments are outstanding. Their head coaches are here, so I'm going to introduce each of their head coaches to come up and say a few words about what they've done, and we'll meet each of those athletes. So first, I'll have our boys soccer coach, Jason Mahoney, come up and talk about Alex.
Good evening. I have the luxury and pleasure of talking about Alex Fertella. Alex and I met as he was a fourth-grade student at Woodland Intermediate School. So I've known him for 8 years now. And, throughout that time, I've seen him grow into the young man that he is now. A lot of growth, a lot of development as a person and as a player. Phenomenal student athlete. He's a person who carries a 3.8 GPA, 31 ACT score. He's probably the most versatile player that I've coached during my time here at Warren, and that says a lot with all the players that we've had during my time. He had 5 Division I scholarship offers this past year, including Xavier, Bowling Green, Dayton, EIU, and then also Yale. He decided to bypass all 5 of those and focus on academics at the University of Illinois in the finance department. Overall, as a varsity player during his 2 years with us, our team had an overall record of 31, 8, and 7. He scored 5 goals as a junior defender, had 6 assists. This year, playing both defender, midfield, and forward, he had 7 goals and 14 assists. He's been named in North Suburban All-Conference twice, Daily Herald All-Conference twice, and was a finalist for Daily Herald Player of the Year. He was also named IHSA All-State this past fall. So, Alex Fertella.
Next, I'd like to introduce Chris Cortana, our boys and girls swim coach, and introduce Courtney.
Thank you. So I have the pleasure of introducing Courtney Parker. I've had the pleasure of coaching Courtney since she was about 9 years old when she first came to the swim team and came on the pool deck and had no clue what was going on. And she grew very quickly until she made her first state cut as an age grouper, and from there has just blossomed into an amazing young lady, an amazing swimmer. This year she made finals in the backstroke, 100 backstroke and the 50 freestyle, being consideration for All-American in both of those events. She ended up finishing 6th in the 100 backstroke at state, as well as 8th place in the 50 freestyle at state. She was all academic for the conference, as well as all conference in multiple events this past year, and has been all conference for the past 3 years. She's done an outstanding job, and looking forward to it. She's actually the most decorated female swimmer in Warren history, dating back all the way to our first state qualifier for girls back in 1996 with Carolyn Reavers. For those of you that are in the swimming world, sister to Matt Reavers, who's an Olympian. She was here back in 96 and went her junior and senior year to state and scored points, where Courtney has scored points in all 3 of her years up to now. And so she was also elected as team captain for the girls team this year and by her peers, and has done a phenomenal job, and looking forward to working with her in the future. Yes.
Now I'd like to introduce our boys cross country coach, Bill Dawson. Introduce Dustin, who's not here, so we'll still talk about him, unless he's still running here.
Dustin Makuba is, he sets a lot of best records for Warren. He's the only Warren cross-country athlete to qualify for the state meet 3 years. His sophomore year, he was spiked at the sectionals, ran the state meet with a broken bone in his foot. Didn't quite do as well as he would like, but he got the experience. Was all-state as a junior, improved this year. He finished 8th with a time of 14:32. The highest finish ever for a Warren athlete and the fastest time for a Warren athlete. Set school record at our invite, which you were there, was miserable, but he still broke his course record. He, academic all conference, it's been a pleasure. He's a workhorse, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's out running tonight. Thank you.
We do have one more recognition, I think, Mr. Post.
Bill, can you? It is a great pleasure that I reintroduce Bill Dawson. Recently, I received a letter from the Lake County Hall of Fame Committee, Sports Hall of Fame Committee, and on February 6th, Bill Dawson will be inducted into the Lake County Sports Hall of Fame. What Bill has accomplished during his time in coaching in Lake County, because Warren was not his only stop. He has been at North Chicago, been at Stevenson. He has coached 7 state champs, 40 state qualifiers, dozens of all-state athletes, and hundreds of all academic athletes, which are outstanding things in their own right. But what makes Bill really special in my eyes is he is an incredible positive role model for our athletes and for our coaches. Very positive. I don't know if I've ever heard Bill yell, probably in the entire 31 years I've known him, yell a handful of times. Maybe Jason's heard a little bit more, but certainly not around me, even when I was in my job as an athletic trainer. Very positive. The only negative would be he complained a lot, like all the track coaches do in the spring when the weather's not very cooperative. It's cold and rainy on a May night that they need really nice weather. Bill is, each year coaches about 250 athletes between cross country and track, because Bill's philosophy is he will not cut kids. If the kid wants to go out for track, the kid wants to go out for cross country, he wants to afford them an opportunity. Sometimes it's a little chaotic, but nonetheless, it works. And that to me, this says a lot. I mean, he's battled the other conferences, other coaches of the conference about competition and making sure that our dual meets count for something, so our kids have meets that they can compete in, and that this isn't Saturday or Friday night invite. So he's very, very much about kids. After 37 and a half years, you know, he made a comment when I told him he was going, you know, that he'd been not elected to go in, and he goes, I just got it for longevity because I've been here so long. No, Bill, I'm telling you, because you are an outstanding coach who represents this field, this profession in the highest regard. So congratulations on this honor.
People who are here just for the recognition segment of the meeting, we're going to move on with the rest of the meeting, so if you want to take this 90 seconds, you're welcome to stay.
And that really hurt you guys.
Take care, thank you.
Are you still recording?
Next month, they didn't know about it.
Are you staying over there, Dr. Allman?
He's in timeout.
That's okay. I didn't know, so. Alrighty then. The next item on the agenda is reception of visitors. This is the point where anyone that would like to address the board may take the opportunity to do that. So if there's anybody here that would like to address the board this evening, please step forward. Okay. No one is here to address the board, so we will move on. The next item on the agenda is the president's report. The first thing we have is the school schedule for next year, which we will be voting on, so that's an attachment in there which shows you the school board meetings and holidays and whatnot. I guess that's just the school board meetings, isn't it?
Yes.
Just the board meetings.
Those are just reiterating this to the remainder of the meetings for this year.
Oh,
John?
those are the amazing meetings for this year.
Oh, okay, never.
Yeah.
I just want to remind you and the rest of the board members that per IASB, all committee meetings should be posted at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
They were not posted for this year. And so it would be appreciated if it's updated, effective immediately.
Okay. We'll work on that. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll also talk about the next year's schedule, I guess, as it comes forward. Right? Is that... Okay. The next thing is the joint conference. We talked briefly at the last meeting that if anybody would like to speak about their experience at the conference, at this point they may. Catherine was our delegate who is not here tonight, so if she had anything from the actual, the meeting of the delegates, then she would have to do that, I guess, next meeting. Does anybody else have something they'd like to report on?
I would. I
Okay.
went to the round table,
Mhm.
which is like 30-something different tables.
Right?
And you go for like 30 or 45 minutes, I don't remember the exact time frame. But it's really, you can pick up a lot of information in a very short time. And I asked in my, the rating sheet we send back, I forget what it's called, but the survey maybe, that they extend that to an all-day because it's only in the afternoon on Saturdays.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to let you know, it was really interesting because you get a
Yeah.
lot of information.
Yeah, we actually presented it that, we had a roundtable, we presented that one year. It's been-
Oh, I thought you meant
Since,
this
no,
year.
I think you would have known that.
Yeah, that's why I was like.
Yeah, but we did it, it's been, gosh, I don't know. It was before the referendum, they expanded Almond, or at the same time, or right after it, yeah.
One other forum that I attended with Dr. Alden and Jean was that 100-year anniversary. I thought it was apropos and good timing that they attended that, and a lot of good information was gleaned from that, and I trust that they employed a lot of that because they were there as well. So.
Good, yeah, there's always a lot of good committees, good things to see, roundtables, presentations, and then there's, of course, the trade show, or whatever we call trade show floor itself, so. I was not in attendance this year, so. If that's it, then we will move on again. We don't have any committee reports, doesn't look like, so we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Board members, in your packet, we have our normal monthly attendance, discipline and enrollment reports, and staffing reports, so please continue to review those. A couple of other updates or items of interest. We did have 3 FOIAs come in since the last meeting, one from One Chase, Illinois, regarding gifted and talented programs, one from Mark Stoyas regarding audio recordings location for our meetings, and one from Peg Marar regarding some emails. We've also will distribute tonight our draft version of our Warren Connection first semester in review. We've done this now for a little bit of time just to help promote some of the good things that we talk about in our board meetings, good things that have gone on over the course of the semester. So we're continuing that practice in an effort to communicate a positive message, and it just goes for the first semester of this year. Again, there's a few things on there that we're still verifying the number or checking the date, but generally speaking, that's a draft is something that we hope to both communicate internally and externally about the good things that have gone on. Also, there is a meeting next week, I believe a few board members. Mr. Mendes, have you ever told the parents?
Next Tuesday at 6:30.
26th, and I think someone else might have volunteered. That's an open meeting, and we hope to just review some of our current school practices, specifically as it pertains to discipline and attendance, as we, over the next couple months or so, if we're going to make any recommended changes, need to do that appropriately, so the board could approve them, and we can get them out in our handbook in time for next school year. Last December, the last update that we had from Cheryl Parmenter was she was giving an update on communicating with the foreign travel parents. So I had asked her just to make sure that if she had followed up on that, so she, as of today, she said she was able to reach all 43 students and 6 chaperones directly. They all understand the board's decision. All plan to stay enrolled as travelers on the trip. One person asked about a potential cancellation, but it had to do with a personal family matter, not the events that happened in Paris. So the board had just asked that she personally follow up with all those people, and she did.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. We did have one other piece of information. You might have heard a little bit about this, so just you might hear more about it going forward. With North Chicago, District 187 has been in a little bit of news on their own recently, having to do with potential other charter in the district.
Yeah.
There's one charter there already. The Learn charters, I have one charter of about 500 students, and from what I understand, they're trying to start another school of similar size, and so they want just the communication to go out to the other districts, because twice now in history, it has gotten to the discussion level about, the sustainability of North Chicago, right? And the other districts that are adjacent to or close and nearby, right? There's implications for that potentially. So it's just a communication piece that, again, if these charters continue to get approval in North Chicago, that there's a chance that they might financially not be able to make it, especially because, they've also got military students there. And if another charter opens up, then they'll fall below the 20% or whatever the magic number is, where they get kind of super impact funds. So there's a couple of financial things in there that are making their situation very tenuous. It's at least dangerous enough from North Chicago's perspective that they did start communicating that out to people, including their neighbors, to realize this might be a discussion that everybody's involved in a little bit more going forward. Dr. Martindale has tried to keep me in the loop over the last couple of months, and just in communication. He is communicating all of the information regarding that situation. So on our end, we're not taking the lead in any way on any of this action. Questions should be directed to North Chicago School District about their situation. It's just more from our end, the board, to be aware that this is coming up again. A lot of it has to do with the charters themselves. So.
They could cause it to implode, basically.
Yeah, they could financially, if, obviously, especially if they lose like the super impact aid, and if it starts to hurt their normal revenue source, they're worried that they won't be able to make it, and they're not sure that the state is going to be in a position or necessarily wanting to continue to bail out individual school districts, because obviously the state's in a different place now as well. And the charters, although even the charter commission, obviously even locally, if the board there denies the additional charter, they can appeal to the charter commission, which has been fairly friendly towards charter requests. So they just want everybody to know what's going on, so it's not a surprise if it keeps coming up in the next couple months, or if you hear about it, that's what it is about indeed. And as Jim mentioned, we are working steadily on our centennial celebration. It is next school year. We've had a couple more meetings, one more PR meeting, and one more steering committee meeting. We're really happy that we've at least got a presence out on social media. We're still trying to have alumni give us their contact information, either through social media, getting a link, or through our website. So we're trying to get in as much information as we can. And we're also now broken down into 3 subcommittees of public relations, money, and that'll come to me in a second. But the 6 events that are kind of planned along the Traveling Museum in and of itself, right, as a subcommittee. And that's one of the things we saw at the workshop, was trying to work on a museum, if you will, of our 100 years of history that could be shown in a number of events, right? So people who showed up at the event would get the bonus of remembering the years of war, and part of that would be we have them at individual events, which could include our first event right now tentatively is Gurnee Days. And so not just obviously the parade is a piece of it, and obviously there could be an opportunity for alumni to gather over there at the social area, but wouldn't it be neat if we can also have some memories there for people to share and gather and go forth. So that was one event, and tentatively right now, the first day of school is another event that we're wanting to do something special for our students here. Homecoming week-ish is another event. We've got another week planned in December that we're working on some winter sports and basketball and theaters and our fine arts to present. And then in the spring, at some point, we want to do some spring sports, but tie it into some kind of signature event or an actual event celebration of the history. 6th event is graduation in 1917. So those are our tentative dates right now. We're trying to frame that going on. We need volunteers, we need people with energy, a little extra time to join our centennial committee. So any help you have on those go-getters out in the community who are looking to do something right now, send them on in and we'll put them to work. And that's the end of my report.
All right. Carol?
You have in your board packet the November 2015 Treasurer's Report. We continue to trend very favorably in November on both the revenue and expenditure side. The detailed reports will show that. I would just like to add that, of course, as many of you know, the state of Illinois does not have a budget. It may be one of the longest times we've gone without a budget. We have received our September categorical aid, and by the 18th, we should receive another payment of categorical aid. By the 18th, we will receive our new CPI number, which is going to affect our 2016 levy. And I just want to point that out. On Friday, I did have the opportunity to meet with Representative Sherry Jessiel, Representative Carol Sante, Senator Scott Drury, and John Amber, who's the legislative director for Representative Elaine Neckrets. They were, of course, vague in their information, but they were less vague on a 2-year rate freeze for property taxes. What I personally asked them for, because everybody else in the room was, of course, asking for more property tax money, which, while good for schools, is not necessarily good for taxpayers. I asked for legislative relief on many of the state unfunded mandates. And if we can generate enough cost reduction by not having to do some of the mandates that we now do that are unfunded, we can accomplish the same goal. So I'm going to meet again with Representative Jessiel and make sure I'm clear with, and that she has some talking points. So maybe we can at least make up some ground on the mandate, and in case we do have a property tax freeze to help the district stand and even keel.
Isn't the CPI going to be close to zero anyway?
My guess is that it is going to be close, but just let me give you a brief glimpse of what this impact to us is going to be. A property tax freeze, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, is really infinite, because you lose, if we lost $250,000 in this year, we lose $250,000 plus CPI in the next year, and the next year, and the next year. So your impact over 5 years would be potentially $1.5 million. So that's why even a 1 year or 2 year property tax freeze is so harmful to schools. While, you know, we certainly understand the taxpayers, it would, you know, other avenues, if we could accomplish the same goal, leave the low CPI, not freeze taxes, moderate increases to the taxpayers, it is going to keep a lot more school districts afloat. And, you know, Warren may be able to weather the storm, but others won't be. And, you know, the North Chicagos of the world, maybe the Warren students of the world at some point. So, you know, that particular item is very concerning. So we hope we can help out everybody and help our community in other ways. And that's all I have. Oh, I just wanted to add one other piece. In the list of bills, we planned on changing the format based on Mrs. Biondi's recommendation. Unfortunately, our accounts payable coordinator's been very sick over the last month with colds and all those kind of things. So we will make that change at the next board meeting. So I talked to her about that today, and I apologize we didn't get it done today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Question.
Sure.
Yes,
What's the format change?
We're going to summarize the list of bills by, it's gonna have a total by check. And, so,
It will also give the
it'll
itemization
give the
breakdown.
itemization by
It's just
check.
like on the top line, it used to be on the top line, there was a total amount for the check.
Yeah.
So instead of having to add up all the little pieces, you will see a total amount.
Gotcha.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Then we will move on to new business, which is, Carol.
Thank you. Attached is a parameter resolution, and this is the last piece of a process that has been going on for a couple months now. What this resolution, called a parameter resolution, it authorizes the sale of $3,950,000 in working cash bonds called, hereby called Series 2016 bonds. As we talked about before, the bonds will be used to pay off our IMRF unfunded actuarial liability, which is about $4.8 million. We've used $1 million of TIP money and some budget money to pay $1 million of that. The sale of the bonds would occur January 21st if the market is favorable. We would use those bond proceeds to pay to reimburse the district back for paying off the unfunded liability. Saves us in IMRF rates 4.7%, which is about $300,000 a year, plus we do earn investment income on the funded liability, which would now be a funded liability.
7% we were paying to have it be unfunded.
Yeah, their 10-year average or 20-year average is 7.5%.
It's a big savings.
And again, that would be a competitive sale, I know that's refinance we did. So we're going to ask the board to approve that resolution.
So we need a motion for recommended action right there.
I move to approve the resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed $3,950,000 taxable general obligation limited school bonds, Series 2016, of Township High School District 121, Lake County, Illinois, for the purpose of increasing the working cash fund of said school district, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and providing for the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
Second. Roll call.
Motion by Biondi, second by Conway. Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
And Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Did I call Mr. Munda? I did,
I did say yes.
okay. I have 6 yes.
Just say yes again, just for that. Okay, we're moving on to the consideration action on a resolution abating not to exceed $3.746366 million from the working cash fund transferred to the IMRF fund.
Second part of this transaction is to permanently transfer or abate the money that's being deposited into working cash into IMRF so we can make that payment.
Got it.
I move to approve a resolution abating not to exceed $3,746,366 from the working cash fund to be transferred to the IMRF fund.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Biondi, second by Drake. Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Bianchi?
Yes.
And Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Very good. Then the next item is the authorization to begin the 2016-17 budget process. So we have to make a resolution to do that. So Carol can begin.
The Illinois School Code requires that the board designate person or persons to prepare the tentative budget. We're asking the board to authorize the superintendent and the chief school business official to begin development of the budget for the 2016-17 school year. A copy of the resolution is attached, and we ask the board to approve that resolution.
So, be it resolved by the school board of school district number 121 in the county of Lake in the state of Illinois that the superintendent and chief school business official are hereby appointed to prepare a tentative budget for said school district for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016 and ending June 30th, 2017, which tentative budget shall be filed with the secretary of this board.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Anderson, second by Biondi. Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Now we're going to transfer another temporary interfund transfer for monies from the working cash fund into the IMRF for the other $1 million.
No, actually what this is we usually at this time of the year run short in certain funds. So I guess indirectly, the working cash transfer to the IMRF fund of $1.5 million does have some impact, but right now our transportation fund, we need to transfer about $1 million, and we need to transfer $1.5 million to our IMRF fund to be able to keep those funds positive. This is something we do every year. And it's just a temporary transfer. The funds get paid back in June when we collect taxes.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the temporary transfer of money from the working cash fund to the transportation fund for $1 million and to the IMRF fund for $1,500,000.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Biondi, second by Walls. Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the 2016-17 school calendar.
I'll move to approve the 16-17 public school calendar as presented. Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Munda, second by Walls. Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
And Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Very good. The next item on the agenda is the school board meeting schedule for fiscal year 16-17. We need a motion.
I'll move to approve the proposed 2016-17 board meeting schedule as presented. Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Munda, second by Drake. Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
And Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Next item is the approval of bills for January 19, 2016.
I'll move to approve the payment of bills for for 1/19/2016, the amount of $3,856,707.31.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Munda, second by Conway. Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the resignation agreement and general release.
I'll move to approve the resignation agreement and general release for Peg Henry.
Second.
Okay. So we have to read into the terms for a severance pay equal to $9,672, resignation effective immediately, health insurance through January 31st, 2016, under the same terms as conditions as currently provided, and general release by Ms. Henry. Roll call.
Motion by Munda, second by Drake. Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
And Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Next item is the hiring recommendation, so I move to approve Exhibit A personnel recommendations 140 through 164 as posted.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Anderson, second by Munda. Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular meeting and executive session minutes of December 15, 2015.
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes and executive session minutes of December 15th, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Conway, second by Munda. Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Walls? Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway? Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 6 yes. Motion carries.
Next item is the second reading and approval of the district board policies.
I'll move to approve the second reading and approval of the district board policies.
Second. Roll call.
Motion by Munda, second by Anderson. Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
No.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
And Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 5 yes and 1 no. Motion carries.
So the next item is the student disciplinary issue, so I move to approve the resolution for disciplinary recommendation for student 2016-05 as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Anderson, second by Conway. Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
No, I'll abstain as I'm the principal of the Lake County Regional Safe School Program.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 5 yes, 1 abstention. Motion carries.
That is the last item on the agenda.
John, could I ask that something you put on new business next, for the next meeting?
You may.
As probably everyone in the room is aware, some of the school districts surrounding ours are going on to a later start for middle schools and high schools. And I would like for our board to form a committee, and I would love to serve on it, with districts 56, 50, and the Park District, because all of these programs, if we decided to, it's just a feeler thing, because I personally think it's a good thing, but I think there's a lot involved with the other schools, and therefore I'd like, and the Park District, and any other thing that people are familiar with, to to find out what the feeling is. And determine if there should be a change in our start, meaning the high school start. I know we're very tied to District 56 and the busing situation. And I also know that parents depend on the Park District for babysitting as well as older students being home when the younger students get there. So, you know, I'd just like to discuss it with the other boards at the Park District.
A lot of research out there on that topic, and there's certainly some merit to it. That's a very complex issue.
It is.
At the high school level, we've got to take into athletics, competitions, traveling to and from games and competitions. We also have to take in, we've got students that go to outside programs outside. The tech campus in Needham, so it's a very complex
I know it is, that's why I
issue.
said,
More so just for our own in-house things, rather than worrying about what outside thoughts are. Maybe that conversation should really be in-house before we start maybe going outside and worrying about what some other feeder programs and things may be doing, because certainly that connection is there. But I really believe we need to have that conversation in-house to see if that's really something that's going to be plausible and feasible for something
I would go along with that,
here
Mike.
for us.
I think that's a reasonable request. I just would like the conversation to get started.
Certainly,
There's
yeah,
a lot of
that's-
research, as you
yeah.
said.
We can certainly do that. I think that, you know, with our two schools and our sharing buses with District 56, and having a limited number of buses, that certainly would create some issues, but I mean, that doesn't, you know, there's a lot of things can be solved if it's deemed to be necessary. So I think that's certainly a worthwhile conversation, and we should have.
I know Stevenson announced.
Right.
Anybody else besides Stevenson?
There was another school, God bless you. There was another school district that announced, and I can't remember who it
Mundeleyn's
was.
talking about it, but they're having a change with, they're really getting away from their block scheduling type of thing.
Right.
So it may not be really a time issue for them. I think it's more of a scheduling thing for them.
Yeah, I think, aren't they next year going to change their block? Is
They're
it
gonna-
next
They're
year?
going away from the block
Right,
schedule, yes.
right.
I don't think
Stevenson didn't change their end time, they just reduced their periods.
Their class period times are
Yeah,
short.
their period times, they didn't reduce their end time.
I don't know that we would want to reduce our class times. I mean, these are all things I know we need to talk with the union also. I mean, this is
Okay, well,
not.
we can certainly put it on, and we can certainly discuss it maybe in a committee meeting or a separate meeting besides the full board too. Certainly, but it's certainly a conversation that we can have, so we
Thank
will
you.
do that. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, then I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Roll call.
Who was the second?
Wanda? Oh, I thought it was you.
There's a couple, but
Motion by Anderson, second by Munda. Mrs. Biondi?
Yes.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Walks?
Yes.
Mr. Munda?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
yes.
I have
Thank you,
six-
everyone.
6 yes, motion carries.
Thanks for coming, everybody. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.